Ahoy, my friends, Ryder here, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. Today is the second video of this kind. It is going to be a Dear Applibot video. So today, my message is to Applibot, and essentially I've put together a list of things that I think the mass majority of players can agree that if implemented in the game would make the game a whole lot of a better place. Now, there are a lot of different things I think that people all across the spectrum of Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis would want to see brought into this game. I'm only going to be covering about 10 to 15 of them, as I don't want the list to just go on and on and on and on and on. So essentially, in my first Dear Applebot video, I covered about 20 different things that I thought would be better, I think, for the community as a whole if added into Ever Crisis. Now, along the way, I've taken different suggestions. I've waited for my list to kind of make it back up to about 15 different things, but I just want to say thank you to Applebot for putting together this game. Now, it's not perfect by any means, but it is a great game, and I think a lot of people are enjoying it so far, especially with the new Guild War edition. I think that you guys just have a few things you need to tweak here and there, some things to keep in mind for the overall player base, but all in all, I think that I'm really enjoying Ever Crisis so far. All right, that being said, let's get into the things that I think Ever Crisis could really use in order to be improved. All right, so the first thing here, all right, as I'm going to talk about is the sound crash upon notices login. So if I log into the game, and it doesn't matter if I'm on Steam or I'm on mobile, and there's a new thing that pops up that says new draw available, it fully breaks my background music every single time. And this has been happening in Ever Crisis literally since launch. So I think that it's about time that this is addressed, because twice a week something pops up right when we log in, and I have to fully log back out of the game just to log back in to fix the sound in the game. I think this is probably, a really small glitch, but something that goes all the way back to the beginning. And personally, I would really appreciate it if you guys took a look at it and could maybe fix the sound crash glitch. All right, here's another one. Now, this one was from a couple different players who messaged me asking for me to talk about it. And this is for improvements regarding lower quality phones. So players that are playing without the new top of the line Apple, Android phone, whatever there are, there's a bunch of different kinds, some type of graphics reduction option that would make this game more accessible for players around the world that might not have access to the best phones needed. This game has fantastic graphics, especially for a mobile game, so it makes sense that it would call on something and need a higher kind of output for this kind of graphics. But I do think that putting in something there where you can reduce it for a phone that maybe can't handle the best level is something that would be a good nod towards players all around the world. All right, here's another one. A way to acquire past costumes. All right, now there was a recent change in the season pass where we're not getting those gear vouchers anymore, and we get 1,500 crystals, I think, in exchange. I personally would love to see old costumes be added to the gear exchange, like Cloud's Murasame, even if it was 12 months after the costume dropped. I think that it would be awesome for players to be able to eventually pick those up, because now that we have seen, the Limit Break Draw banner return, now we are seeing, the Final Fantasy IX crossover banner returning. We're getting things that were supposed to be true limiteds, becoming not truly limited. And now, like, the only thing that's truly limited are the costumes on every single featured banner. So now I don't know what you guys or anybody at Applebot is going to be able to do about the past costumes. I get it. Not having them be limited makes it so that people are put kind of in the pressure area for every single time there's a banner. but I think that it would be a nod towards the player base, and I think that it's honestly only a matter of time as the years go by in the game before these old costumes become available. So I think that it's something that a lot of players would love to see. All right, here's the next one right here. A better way to acquire past event weapons, all right? So you guys brought in the event ticket draws on certain events. I get what you guys were trying to do with that while bringing that in. I just think that it was not really the greatest approach. You know, the fact that they had the same kind of what's the odd percentage of pulling them as a regular banner just made absolutely no sense to me. They cost an arm and a leg of stamina to go after them just for the smallest micro chance that you have to go in and it's this crazy RNG to try and get a specific weapon you want out of a pool of like 40 of them. It just makes no sense. I think that this needs to be revamped, allow players the chance to get these old event weapons. It has nothing to do with banners. It has nothing to do with revenue coming into the game. And if it does, it is minuscule at best. So I think that it would be kind of a nice tip of the hat to the players in order to bring them back something, give them a thing where you get 10 ticket draws and you can get a weapon of your choice at base 5 stars, something like that, something easy that allows players to pick them up. All right, here's the next one right here. Make allied players HP in co-op lobbies. So for example, in certain battles where, based on the boss mechanic, a character with either a high HP threshold or a low HP threshold will be targeted for, certain attacks. It would be good to be able to see the actual HP of those characters going into those co-op fights so that it just makes it easier for everyone to get in sync and work together. All right, here's one that I would love to see. A quick OB level all at once, right? So we get these event weapons, we get tons of weapon parts for them, and then I have to go in there and I have to OB them one at a time all the way up. And I just feel like it would make a lot more sense to allow us to use all of our weapon parts at once, take a weapon from, say, OB2 to OB8 with one click instead of 6 clicks. I think would be a lot better for every single player all across the board in Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. All right, here's one that I put a long time ago, more fun content. Now, Guild Wars is something that definitely added fun content to the game. Granted, it definitely has its flaws and needs to be, kind of looked at. I saw the last notice where they said that, they're gonna change the mock thing, but it's not gonna be changed on the next Guild War. I feel like they should have fixed it before then. But then I think there was other things that they didn't there were things that they did mention that I thought were like super low priority. And then there were things that they just didn't mention at all. For example, they mentioned the fact that a guild broke 999,999,999, right? However many nines that is. And they said they're going to look into showing the total score. That affects 30 players in the game, right? And they already broke 999, however many nines that is. I feel like that's a really low priority thing. Take a look at the glitches, how it freezes on the frame of the characters, that kind of stuff. Take a look at fixing the things that affect everyone playing Guild War, and I feel like it'll be better received all around the board. All right, here's one that I think is super important, right? And it's that limited banners must have wallpapers. Limited banners are super pricey, they cost a lot, and they're rare. And the fact that they have been more and more not coming with wallpapers just does not make any sense to me. So I think that's something that I would personally like to see, is that these limited banners should have wallpapers. I feel like that's part of the appeal of pulling on these banners, is you get these cool limited wallpapers for them. And I just feel like it's kind of like, a bit lazy to not put them in there, especially when it's like these banners these wallpapers must be like the most minuscule cost to put that in there. So to like skimp on them just makes no freaking sense to me. All right, here's one that I think a lot of players can agree with. It's better co-op chat options. We have these limited chat options that essentially do nothing, right? So I feel like if you guys the devs sat down for like 10 minutes and thought about what we would need in co-op to communicate, you could come up with a completely different list, right? And whether that's in battle or pre-battle, most of the time pre-battle, so that you can, work with people to get them in the right place. But a bunch of different things. There's a lot of different ways this can be improved. So hopefully you guys can take a look at it. All right, here's one that I would love to see. This is add a retry button to premium quests. So when I go in to do my 3 premium quests a day, and I do my Glen memories, for example, when I'm done with that, I have to go all the way back to the main first soldier screen. I have to scroll back down to Glen. I have to click Glen. I have to go back in. I have to do that 3 times. Please, 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 for the love of all the Final Fantasy summons in the game, add a retry button to the premium quests. It is a pain in the butt to go all the way back and have to do that every single time, every single day. It makes absolutely no sense to me. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Co-op crash battles should drop event drop rewards, right? Okay, this one makes no sense to me. You get a bunch of players, they go out of their way to clear these hard crash co-op fights, and they do not drop event drop rewards. On top of that, right, the whales that go out of their way to help all these players get these clears do not get any extra event drop rewards. This just makes no sense to me. Crash battles should for sure and certainly drop event rewards that correspond to the event going on during the crash. I think that's just a given. I don't know why they don't drop it. It makes no sense to me. All right, here is a major WTF, right? Where are the earth, wind, and water breach materias? We just got 2 new recipes based on new dungeons, and they were ice and fire breach recipes. What are you, what is going on in there where we have ice, lightning, and fire for 1 year, right? And no earth, wind, water breach materia. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever. We need these. Please, please, please bring these into the game. The fact that we're getting recipes for fire, ice, and lightning before we even get anything for earth, wind, water, I mean, they should have at least been in the Crisis Metal shop at a given a long 6 months ago, realistically, 6 months ago. So please, please, please bring us these breach materias. The player base needs them. All right, here's another one. Auto repeat for quests. I think that this game being almost a year old, and the fact that it does not have a simple auto repeat, which is basically a standard quality of life in any mobile game around the world, just makes no sense. I think that if you guys at Applibot get together and, take a fraction of the effort that you guys put into banners, right, and trying to bait characters, and I get it, that's the business model for this company and this game. But if you guys take just a fraction of that energy and put it into how to improve this game for all the players that make up a big majority of the Final Fantasy VII fan base, right? Which is essentially like the golden goose of Square Enix's fan base, right? It's a huge aspect of it. So I think that just do the little things that the game needs. I think a lot of people will appreciate it. You can get a lot more love across the community. Give us the auto repeat for quests, please. That would be great. All right, here's one. All right, so better packs for light spenders in shops. Remove the crap packs. All right, so one of my biggest gripes about this game is the fact that it's essentially like gunned in on hunting whales hardcore, so much so to the point that it feels like you guys don't even care about anyone else that wants to spend money in the game, right? There's never any discounted packs. I think we've had the boosted crystal packs like twice, and the reason this doesn't happen in the game, right, for all you fans out there watching, is because they know the heavy spenders, the whales in the game, are going to buy the packs no matter what. So it doesn't matter if they put a discount on something. They're just going to leave it there because they know someone's going to buy it. But the problem with that is that now there's not really that many great packs for all the light spenders. I'm guessing there's more light spenders than there are full whales in the game. Now, I don't know what the ratio is to revenue when it comes to that, but I think that you guys can revamp the shops a little bit, give us some more discounted packs. I think you'll see more love from the paying community in Ever Crisis if you are able to do that. You know, just take some time and think about it, what you could put into the shops and how to improve them for the average paying player. All right, here's another one. Change all banners to reflect the second stamp card of limited banners. Okay, this one is like kind of a personal one for me. I honestly think all banners in this game should be a reflection of the limited banners. So the second stamp card, where you have like 3 more guaranteed weapon slots, I think that should be a given for all banners across the game. I think that, you know, for the feature draws, most people are just going to pull until the first costume, right? So I think what's the harm? You give people more of an incentive to pull to the second stamp card by actually giving those 3 weapon drops. I know I've been playing gacha games for a long time. I know that at some point in time that is going to change. This is going to be adapted. I just hope that it changes sooner rather than later. All right, this is probably my #1 change that I would request to Applibot to be changed in Ever Crisis, and it is for a fixed camera angle in battle option. So sometimes in the hard fights in the game, I feel like I'm fighting the camera angles more than I'm fighting the boss itself to win. And I feel like when it comes to a game like this, it should have everything to do with the strategy involved going into it and the skill of the player. Now, when these camera angles are shifting back and forth, when you have to be clicking on different ads, you know, it can get really complicated when the camera is moving like this all the time. And I just think it would be super easy to basically turn off those animations, set it to a fixed camera angle, give the player the opportunity to choose a fixed camera angle or not, so that in battle for really hard content, you know, players that are right on the line can have more of a chance when it comes to this. I feel like this is just something that should have been added at the very beginning of the game. The game should have launched with a fixed camera angle for any of the devs that are doing the hard fights. I just think that it makes a lot of sense. So I'm really hoping to see that out there. On top of that, I think the option to reduce the HUD size of the stance gauge would be really, really well received. You know, in Final Fantasy XIV, you can change the size of things based on a percent. And I think that the kind of the stance gauge change is a little big sometimes, to the point that sometimes it's in the way when you're trying to click some of the ads. So if we had the option to reduce the size of it, you know, 80%, 60%, whatever, just make it smaller, which has got to be a tiny change on Applibot's part to change this, I think that it would be really great overall for the game. All right. Here's one. This one became more apparent with the recent drop of Guild Wars, but I think that Ever Crisis needs to simplify its login times. Why are there so many freaking login times throughout the day? We have a shop reset, a day reset, a patch reset. It's just too many freaking resets. I think that we could combine I honestly would prefer 1 overall, but if it was going to be 2, why not combine the shop and the day reset into 1? I never understood why the shop 1 and the day 1 were separated from the beginning, but I hope to see this kind of like, it's a mess. It's not clean. It needs to be organized, and I think it just, you know, it's meant to have people logging in all the time throughout the day, but I think that, you know, obviously part of the revenue stream of this is to have people online playing the game. That's why people can't play with a VPN. But still, I think that there's a line that needs to be drawn. The game should take some type of precedence in how it's kind of maintained. And I think that simplifying this would be a good thing overall for Ever Crisis. All right, here's another one that I think would be really, really important. And this is a 50% marker for the HP bar. So for so many weapons in the game now, where if you're under 50%, something doesn't trigger, it's like I have to remember the exact number of the halfway point of my character. What if I have 3 different characters? The easiest way to do this is to just have the HP bar change color, right? So it stays green when it's above 50%, When it hits 50%, it turns yellow, and then when it goes down under 30%, it turns red. Something like that. Super, super, super easy change. But if you're giving us all these under 50%, over 50%, 30%, just reflect it in a color in the HP bar so that when we're playing and dealing with 3 different characters at the same time in a hard battle, it's easy for us to know, oh, I should wait to cast this right now, right? Make the game funner, more accessible for players. That way we can challenge ourselves more. I think that that makes a lot of sense. All right. And it looks like my last one right here, I think this is my last one. All right. Is new levels added for training quests. So like, for example, the training quests for character pieces in the growth board is essentially exactly the same as almost a year ago. It makes no sense to me that these have not been updated, especially considering that now there are, 13 characters in the game. A lot of players play all the characters, and this requires, with every single time the level cap increases, a great amount of different attack, healing, and magic pieces. Yet we're still stuck farming the exact same level from a year ago that was meant to help us get from level 30 to 40, from level 40 to 50, from level 50 to 60. It makes no sense. This needs to be updated. We need a quality of life. I think tons of training quests, the materia synthesis, the pieces, all of that needs to just get bumped up a tier. Just it needs to happen, plain and simple. So yeah, that's going to essentially be my Dear Applibot video. I know, guys, I know I missed tons of stuff. There's always something that the game needs to see, but this is what I said the first time when I made that first Dear Applibot video. We do know that certain things were changed, and so the best way to do that is to have everyone like this video and everyone drop a comment on this video saying what you want to see fixed, and then hopefully Applibot will see it and make some of these changes, especially the fixed camera angle for battles, which I feel like would be an absolutely great thing overall. So yeah, that's going to essentially conclude my Dear Applibot video. I appreciate the game. I just think that, the problem with a lot of these mobile games that I've played so far is I feel like the company, right, gets so concerned with making money that they forget that if you just make the game fun, if you take the player into consideration, right, instead of just looking at us as like a bunch of little, digital piggy banks, I think that that is going to overall do better for the game as a whole. On top of that, I feel like, for Square Enix, it makes sense to kind of take care of this player base. We make up a lot of people that support Square Enix. So to have a company where it's very obvious that it feels like we're being targeted, we're being baited, it just feels like the idea is just to get as much money of us out of as possible at all times without actually doing the other things in the game that we actually need, just seems, it leaves a sour taste in the mouth. And I just feel like ultimately what I see with a lot of these gachas is they just end up poisoning themselves and destroying themselves over the time in this relentless pursuit of pinching everyone for their last dollar. And I just think that if you take the time to really consider the players, and how you can make this game great, not make this game viable to the next month, not how you can just do the least amount of effort possible to get you through so that you can just crank out banner after banner, but to actually consider what would make this game great and really shoot for that bar, I feel like is what it needs. And I feel like would not take that much effort as a whole if the company came together and really just sat down and said, what can we do to make Ever Crisis better? What are the little things we can fix? How do we fix the sound crash glitch that's been glitching for 1 year at this point? Little things like that. So anyway, guys, that being said, these are my thoughts. Applibot, I hope you guys hear this. I hope that you guys, aren't too upset with me calling you guys out all the time. But it is what it is. I'm just that kind of person. I will always call it as I see it. So hopefully you guys will implement some of these changes, and hopefully you'll read some of the comments, because I'm sure a lot of the players in the game are going to be adding a lot of things that they would like to see changed that I missed here today. All right, that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video today, if you want Applibot to make some of these changes, please don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment, and if you like my content, don't forget to subscribe for more Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis videos. I will catch you guys in the next one. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care, and peace.